All right, guys, what is going on back in your life on this Tuesday evening? All right, guys, welcome to Flav Orellana's MMA show. I'm your host, Flav Orellana, brought to you by Four Corner Sports NY. All right, guys, so we have a lot to talk about. So, if you guys didn't know, this past Saturday we had Michelle Waterson versus Angela Hill, and if you want to see the previous videos, just go back into my on this channel over here and watch the video. I'll talk about what ended up happening, but we're not going to talk about what happened on last Saturday because this Saturday coming up we have a mega show. Surprisingly, it's a UFC fight night. It is headlined by Colby Chaos Covington versus Tyron Woodley. All right, that right there is enough said because that fight alone should be on a pay-per-view. We're lucky enough to get this for free on a fight night. And then co-main evented by Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Nico Price. That co-main event is going to be bananas. All right, it's going to be wild. All right, so guys. So without further ado, let's go on to it. All right, guys. So this Saturday we have Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley, and these two do not get along with one another. There's been a heated rivalry between both of them. Colby was being winged by Tyron Woodley coming into the UFC. Tyron Woodley showed him the ropes. Eventually, they ended up separated, and then once they separated, the feud ended up happening. These two don't like each other at all. Unfortunately, both are coming off of losses. Colby Covington ended up coming off of a loss in December versus Kamaru Usman for the welterweight title. Fantastic fight. If you ever get the chance to watch it again, just because it was one of the better fights of that year. Of course, it wasn't going to trump Israel Adesanya versus Kelvin Gastelum because that was fight of the year in 2019. And Tyron Woodley is coming off of a two-fight losing streak. Ended up losing his title against Kamaru Usman of last year, and then ended up losing again on May 30th, my birthday. Ended up losing to Gilbert Burns, who Gilbert Burns is now going to be fighting in December, Kamaru Usman. So there's a lot at stake here because Colby Covington, yes, is the younger fighter. Tyron Woodley is the older fighter. I believe Tyron is about 38 and Covington has to be about like 32. So if Covington was to lose, this loss wouldn't like heavily affect him. But if Tyron was to lose, wow, now we got something talking because of the fact that Tyron has lost both his fights, and it's not like they were close fights. No, he got dominated by Usman. He got dominated by Burns. Nothing to be ashamed about, but in just the manner that he ended up losing, he lost all 10 rounds. He's fought 50 minutes in the octagon in his last two fights just to be dominated. And that's not something you want. Because at one point we were looking at Tyron Woodley as possibly being one of the better welterweights that has ever stepped into the octagon. And yeah, now if he loses to Colby Covington, now we're gonna question, how legitimate was he? Is he gonna be like one of those veterans that that has the name value for like a prospect to get like a win off of? We don't know yet, but this is one of the bigger main events of a fight night that has happened. I mean, could this be fight of the year? I don't see it as being fight of the year, but just the storyline alone just makes it that much bigger. I want to say that this can possibly end up being something similar to what we saw in December between Usman versus Covington. Reason why I say that is because both are very familiar with one another. Both know how to wrestle, and that's their bread and butter right there is their wrestling. But I think the difference might be is how's Tyron Woodley going to handle himself once he gets into the octagon, and how's he going to be able to handle the pace, because the pressure, the pace that Covington ends up bringing into the octagon is like no other. And it's like chaos. That's why his nickname is Chaos Covington. But we'll see. Covington has a 15-2 record, 15 wins, 2 losses. Tyron Woodley has a 19-5 record, 19 wins, 5 losses. If I had to make a prediction right now, I'm gonna say Covington. I'm gonna say Covington. And now, this fight doesn't end in a knockout by no means necessary. And if it was, I'm picking Woodley, to win by knockout. But I don't see Woodley coming out as the victor Saturday night. I see Covington winning by decision, but I see Covington winning 4 rounds to 1, maybe 3 rounds to 2. I know, you know, the heavy jalapeno Javier. We were talking about it earlier. He said that he has Covington winning 3 rounds to 2. Covington's looking like the favorite, in this matchup. I haven't seen what the Vegas odds, have him as, but it should be very, very intriguing. Just the name value alone, is going to bring casual fans and obviously regular fight fans like us, into watching this fight. I mean, I guarantee you I'm going to be watching this fight, with my popcorn ready, waiting to see how everything's going to transpire into this fight. In the co-main event, we have Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Nico Price. Now, I think this might be fight of the night. Sorry. I think this might be fight of the night because if anybody knows how Nico Price fights, look back at the Vicente Luque fight that he had, earlier this year. And honestly, Cowboy Cerrone, he's just gonna bring it. I mean, at this point of his career, it just seems like Donald Cerrone is becoming like that human punching bag. I mean, he ended up fighting earlier in the year against Conor. I wasn't really a big fan of it. I mean, we all ended up watching because it was Conor. We're not watching a main event fight because it says Cowboy on it. No, it was because it was Conor. Conor ended up beating Cowboy. I think it was in 41 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, something around that ballpark. And was I impressed? No. Was I shocked that Cowboy ended up losing that early? Kind of. But this is Cowboy's first fight in 8 months. Nico Price, I think he fought sometime in, I think, May, if I'm not mistaken. The way that Nico Price left the octagon versus Vicente Luque, like Vicente Luque left Nico Price with his eyes swollen shut. And crazy ass Nico Price still wanted to fight. And I respect him for that. And then prior to that fight, he ended up fighting James Vick, and he was on the floor. He ended up hitting James Vick with the back of his heel, knocking him out. I think he may have like busted his lip or something like that, knocking him out. He was out cold. It was one of the craziest knockouts that I've seen. His back flat on the floor, him hitting him with the back of his heel as James Vick was trying to get like a stack. I think it was like a stacking guard or anything like that. He's just standing above him. James Vick didn't realize that Nico Price had one of his legs loose and ended up, knocking him flush right on the chin. So knock anybody out if you land a kick like that. But I think this might be fight of the night. Both of them are going to be swinging at one another. You're going to see head kicks. You're going to see body shots, leg kicks as well too. I'm going to favor Nico Price. Nico Price is going to get a big win over Donald Cerrone. I think that this fight goes into the second round, but later into the second round, this fight will get finished. Doesn't reach the third, unfortunately. But the first round, I feel like, is going to be chaos. And if it isn't, I'm going to be highly disappointed just because I know what Nico Price can do and know what Donald Cerrone can do. The only reason why I'm picking Nico Price is because Donald Cerrone, to me, at this point, he's already getting punch drunk. I feel like he's getting, like anytime he's into a fight, he's getting really badly hurt. Look at the Tony Ferguson fight. Look at the Justin Gaethje fight that he had. Both of them are outstanding hitters. Look what happened to him with Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor was barely in the ring with him and ends up knocking him down with just shoulder shots. Shoulder shots. Like, who ends up knocking somebody out with the shoulder? So I feel like Cerrone may have recovered to a certain extent, maybe not 100%, but I feel like Nico Price comes out with the victory by knockout, by TKO, towards the ending of the second round. We have a fight between the hype train himself, Khamzat Chimaev, hottest prospect in the UFC right now. Owned Fight Island. Going into Fight Island, nobody knew who he was. Everybody was talking about Jorge Masvidal as like the big, as the star of Fight Island because he ended up taking the fight 6 days notice, to fight Kamaru Usman. No. Halfway through Fight Island, we have seen a star right in front of our eyes in Khamzat Chimaev. I'm very excited about this fight. He has a tough test, and this guy is no slouch whatsoever. And this guy is Gerald Meerschaert, GM3, as what he goes by, right? I'm very excited about this fight because this is going to be a true test to see how he's going to be able to handle somebody like Gerald Meerschaert, because Gerald Meerschaert has, I think he's tied for most submissions in the middleweight division, if I'm not mistaken, or he's somewhere up there. Great jiu-jitsu fighter, can fight off his back, can get a win off his back. Khamzat Chimaev is an excellent wrestler. He has that Dagestan style of wrestling, Samba style wrestling. This guy looks like he could potentially be like the real deal. But if he's able to run through Gerald Meerschaert, oh my God. If he's able to run through Gerald Meerschaert, we got something right over here, because then we already know that he's going to be fighting Damian Maia. I don't think it's going to be in Fight Island because of what Gerald Meerschaert says, that even if Khamzat Chimaev ends up winning, he's gonna leave Khamzat pretty badly hurt. Do I believe that? I have no idea. We'll see on this Saturday. But if he's able to run through Gerald Meerschaert, ladies and gentlemen, if he's able to run through Gerald Meerschaert, I don't know. Twitter might explode again. He might be trending, once again. Plus, who's he going to fight next? After Damian Maia. And Damian Maia is no slouch either, even at 40 years old, 40 plus years old. Mind you, that he's doing this. He's fighting like in two different divisions, which is you normally don't see somebody have one fight here at welterweight, then go to middleweight, then drop back down. Dropping 15 pounds is pretty tough. I mean, I can't drop 15 pounds like that. These guys, some people have a hard time cutting weight. Khamzat Chimaev is going to be fighting Gerald Meerschaert at 185. He's going to drop back down to 170 to fight Damian Maia. So I don't know. It'll be pretty interesting to see, what happens after this Saturday. Gerald Meerschaert ended up having an interview. He had plenty of interviews the last 2 weeks saying that he feels highly disrespected by the UFC by them double booking Khamzat Chimaev. He feels disrespected that how the UFC is taking it. They're trying to push him along, and they feel like he's like some slouch that they can run over. He can run over him. I don't know. If Gerald Meerschaert ends up getting a big win off of Khamzat Chimaev, what happens with him? Does he move up? I mean, he recently just fought Deron Winn. I think it was back in March, and they're getting a victory over him. Mind you, this guy Deron Winn was on amphetamine. I don't know. I mean, this if Nico Price and Donald Cerrone is not fight of the night, then you could possibly bubble this one in. I'm not sure, but if I had to make a prediction, I'm picking with Khamzat Chimaev, coming out as the victor. Will it be like his last fight that he had against Reese McKee? No, I don't think that he's going to dominate Gerald Meerschaert like that, making sure that he doesn't get hit at all or anything like that. No, I think this might go into the third round, and I don't know. I just feel that Chimaev might come out with the victory by TKO. I think that his style of wrestling, his Samba style of wrestling, is pretty suffocating. He's not going to allow Meerschaert to get away. He's gonna smother him. He's gonna throw a bunch of body shots, a bunch of shots, in the clinch, bunch of shots while he's on his back, a back mount, top mount, half mount, full guard. He's gonna be all over Gerald Meerschaert. It might take away a lot of his energy, but I predicted, that he gets TKO by ground and pound. I don't see submission or anything like that, just because it might be a little bit too risky. But I got Khamzat Chimaev winning by TKO in the third round. I would say about with about like give or take about like 2 minutes left. So yeah, halfway through the third round. Next, we got a about a light heavyweight bout between Johnny Walker and Ryan Spann. Okay, so many of you guys know that Johnny Walker, UFC was trying to push him at one point. He seemed like a hot prospect. They wanted to push him to the point where he could possibly fight John Jones for a title. Times have changed. Since then, he has lost to Corey Anderson. He had a fight in Brazil before the whole pandemic had happened. He lost over there too. I forgot who he lost to, and I have to look that up again. But he lost. He has on a 2-fight losing streak. John Jones is no longer in the light heavyweight division. He ended up moving up to heavyweight. So, and he's facing a tough challenge in Ryan Superman Spann. I don't know. I mean, this is gonna be a good fight. I feel like Johnny Walker naturally should be able to, get a win off of Ryan Spann, as long as he doesn't act crazy or anything like that. But Ryan Spann, he's no joke. I mean, he can knock out, Johnny Walker if he, keeps on acting lackadaisy. He's not 100% sure if he's gonna be able to counter or anything like that. I don't know. I'm gonna go with this one. I feel like Ryan Spann extends Johnny Walker's losing streak, just because Ryan Spann, I trust his boxing more than I trust Johnny Walker's mindset. Because think about it, on a 2-fight losing streak, now you're concerned about, I can't afford to get another loss. Had 2 bad losses, got knocked out really bad by Corey Anderson back in November. I don't know. But if Johnny Walker is saying, what he said in the interview, that, he's taking this whole new approach to fighting, that he's going to do damage to Ryan Spann, we want to see that, because Johnny Walker is very entertaining. But I feel like in recent past, we have seen him get a little bit too lackadaisy, too more about showmanship. This might actually be a benefit that we're in this pandemic, because of the fact that there's no fans for him to entertain or anything like that. He just goes into the octagon and does his thing. Both have 5 losses. Both have similar records. Johnny Walker is 17-5. Ryan Spann, he's 18-5. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see who wins. I'm giving Ryan Spann, just this much of an advantage, in winning the fight over Johnny Walker. Moving on, we have a women's strawweight fight between Mackenzie Dern and Ronda Marcos. Now, Ronda Marcos, a veteran, Canadian fighter. Mackenzie Dern, Brazilian fighter. She's 8-1. I don't know. I mean, Mackenzie Dern, has been on a roll. Ronda Marcos, the clear savage, veteran. I don't know. I mean, if this goes into the ground, I favor Mackenzie Dern. Ronda Marcos, I don't know. I don't see how she can possibly beat Mackenzie Dern. But the younger fighter, Mackenzie Dern, 27 years old, I just feel like she's going to be able to withstand, Marcos. This could, I can see this ending in the first round. Mackenzie Dern looks like the better fighter between them two. Ronda Marcos is going to be 10-10 after this fight. I give this, a first round finish by submission by Mackenzie Dern. And then the opener of the main card, we got a fight in the middleweight division again between Kevin Holland versus Javier, the heavy jalapenos favorite fighter, Darren, the Dentist Stewart. Yeah, I don't know why Javier loves that guy, but I just had to say it like that. I can't say it the way Bruce Buffer does it. But yeah, this should be an interesting fight, because Darren Stewart ended up coming off of a victory back. I believe it was in Fight Island. Kevin Holland recently just fought too. He actually was supposed to fought a week before. No, I'm sorry, a week after he was supposed to fight Trevin Giles, but then Trevin Giles ended up fainting prior to the fight. Yeah, Kevin Holland ended up fighting Joaquin Buckley. Interesting fight when he ended up fighting Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley, hard hitter, much shorter, but I felt like he ended up over exhausting himself fighting Kevin Holland, and Kevin Holland naturally was just picking him apart, punching him, high, low, body shot, right here on the chin, right here on the temple. Took advantage at a very young, Joaquin Buckley was just getting his UFC debut. This is not going to be like what he ended up fighting Joaquin Buckley, because Darren Stewart can bring him down to the floor, could submit him, get him into the guillotine choke. I'm very interested to see, because Darren Stewart might have a hard time trying to take down Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland has great takedown defense. He's not an easy guy to take down. Has good boxing. Can pick you apart if he needs to. Darren Stewart, same thing too. If I had to pick this might be tough. If I had to pick a winner in this, I might have to go with Kevin Holland, just because I'm just basing it off of how he ended up fighting recently against Joaquin Buckley. Just because I was very impressed in his shot selection on how he was, picking apart a fighter, changing levels, going for the body, going for the head, and his takedown defense. I think the takedown defense might be the biggest factor in this thing, just because if this fight doesn't go down to the floor, Darren Stewart's gonna have a difficult time. But yeah, so that goes for this Saturday's main card for UFC Fight Night. It starts at 8:00. Please, I advise everybody to watch it. You don't want to miss any of these fights. I mean, this card could actually be a pay-per-view card. It's pretty stacked up. I mean, usually the UFC doesn't stack up a card like this. And then next week we have 2 title fights headlined by Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa. 2 fighters enter the octagon undefeated. Only one walks out with the belt and being able to say that they're still undefeated. And then for the co-main event, you still have the vacant title for the light heavyweight title. Jan Blachowicz versus Dominic Reyes, fighting at 205. It got vacated because John Jones ended up moving up towards heavyweight, so they couldn't have the fight. They couldn't have the title just sitting around there. I'm very interested for next week's card as well too. But please, everybody, watch this fight card. You're not gonna be disappointed. It's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna be watching this from start to finish. But before we wrap this up, all right, we had unfortunate news regarding Dustin Poirier and the Tony Ferguson fight. So Tony Ferguson and Dustin Poirier were supposed to fight on October 26th, if I'm not mistaken, or October 24th, one of those 2 days, for UFC 254, headlined by Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje for the lightweight title. This would have been amazing if both would have been on that card too. But unfortunately, Dustin Poirier does not want to fight Tony Ferguson unless the UFC is able to offer him more money to fight Tony Ferguson. Usually, I'm not a big proponent of fighters complaining about, them wanting to get paid. But in this situation, I do understand why Poirier wants to get paid more. Have you seen what Tony Ferguson does to his opponents, minus Justin Gaethje? Have you seen what Have you seen what he's been able to do to his opponents? Look at Anthony Pettis, broke his hand. Look what he ended up doing to Donald Cowboy Cerrone. His eye was swollen shut. They had to call the fight off. What he did to Edson Barboza, so on and so forth. This guy's an animal. This guy puts people in a first-class ticket to go to the hospital. All right. Dustin Poirier just came off a fight back in June against Dan Hooker. Both guys looked terrible after the fight. And I get it why Poirier wants more money. I would want more money too. If I know I'm going to get that badly hurt, that might put me out for the show, on the sideline for about a couple months. And I'm going to be compromised. I can't be able to fight anytime in the near future. Sure, I'm gonna want more money. So to compromise the fact that I'm gonna definitely get hurt, but I'm gonna entertain the fans. It was like undisclosed that Poirier ended up making for the fight he had against Dan Hooker. It was headline. It was a UFC fight night. He ended up making about 300 grand, 150 for the show, 150 for the win. And now you're thinking, wow, that's pretty great. $300,000, a fight. That's amazing. Yeah, that's great and all, but Dustin Poirier is not just your average fighter. I mean, this guy, he might be like the second best lightweight, right behind Khabib Nurmagomedov, in the world. He wants to get paid more money. I don't blame him for wanting more money. All right, you're gonna fight Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson is vouching for him, telling the UFC, "Hey, pay him more money. He only wants to fight Dustin Poirier." So this fight needs to happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's gonna happen for UFC 254. Who knows? It might be for UFC 255. I mean, I believe there's still slots available for them to, squeeze in a fight for November. That card, I mean, right now, there's a little bit of talks about it might be in jeopardy because Cody Garbrandt has COVID. But, November's, a couple months away. And there's also the Valentina Shevchenko fight versus Jennifer Maia. So, I mean, you could still squeeze something in unless you want to push it towards December or you want to make it for a UFC fight night where you can guarantee them having 5 rounds and it'll be absolutely amazing, But hopefully Dustin Poirier and the UFC, him, Poirier, Dana White, McMaynard, Sean Shelby, Hunter, they're all able to find out some type of solution where they can meet in the middle. It's beautiful to hear that Tony only wants to fight Dustin. Dustin wants to only fight Tony. Now the UFC it has to be put in a situation where they have to make a resolution in this where one side is going to be able to agree to something and the other side's going to have to compromise. We'll see what happens. I'm very excited for what's going to be transpiring for this weekend. The world of MMA is at an all-time high. I mean, we're going to be having fights nonstop until like about this, the middle of December, because the UFC and ESPN have agreed to have about 40 plus events, and I'm very happy. I mean, every Saturday, a UFC fight card, UFC pay-per-view once a month, can't complain at all. But that's all the time that I have right now. I would be trying to make a reaction towards Saturday's fight card between, headlined by Covington versus Woodley. And I'll give you all the insight on what I ended up taking from that fight, from that fight card as well. And then going on even with the prelims. All right, guys. Until then, I'm Flav Orellana. All right. And I'm out. All right. Have a good night, guys. And you guys enjoy your evening. All right. Stay safe. Good night, guys.